Football made simple. Become great at your craft by finding ways to make it simple for those around you. This is the Coaching 101 podcast hosted by Find a Way Productions with your co-hosts Daniel Chamberlain and Kenny Simpson. What is going on, coaches? It has been a while since Coach Simpson and I have been live recording. It's been a good little break. Summer took you by storm, did it, Coach?
It did. It did. It always kind of, after the 4th of July, our summer kind of revs up quite a bit. And then the 1 week we give our kids off, I try to get away with my wife. So we do something. Some years it's just a weekend at some hotel, and then this year we were lucky enough to go to Punta Cana, in Dominican Republic. Spent a week at one of their resorts there, and it was really, really nice. And, now I came right back to Monday practice, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we do a mother-son date night coming up Friday. We have media day coming up, so we're right into it.
That's awesome. The ability to get away. And I think more coaches should do that. I know it's hard for some guys to get away from ball right before everything's so important. You know what I mean? We don't want to miss a day when practice is just right there. And then that, next thing you know, it's the first game of the week or the season. So, but I greatly appreciate what you guys do. So I'm sure your wife does as well, because just remembering family first.
Well, it was risky. We did that back in 2016, maybe 2016, 2017. And it was risky. The first time you do that, first time you let your kids off a week, you don't have to let them off. The state will mandate certain things, but when everybody around you is practicing and you're giving your kids off, it's always kind of and I could blow up in your face pretty quick. We did it back in 2016 and had the best year we'd ever had. And so I said, okay, obviously this either was good for us or at minimum didn't affect us.
Right.
But it did affect me. It did affect my wife. I think a lot of our kids and their parents appreciated it as well. I know my coaches appreciated it. So something we've done, I'd encourage a lot of coaches, whether it's maybe a 4-day weekend or a full week, whatever it is, right before the season hits, it's always good to do that, because if you're listening to this right now, you're in the heat of it now. Now there's not a lot of downtime. There's not a lot of time to take any breaks. It's kind of go time now.
Yeah, for sure. We talked about, and we look forward to letting our wives come on and talk on the podcast here pretty soon. So you guys be on the lookout for that. We just got to get all the dates figured out, but I kind of think they'll be saying the same story, right? It'll be, Jamie's going to be very, very happy with the way that you're doing that, giving kids time off so that she gets you back a little bit before everything's right in the thick of season. So it'll be a good one. Let's move on real quick to the quote of the week, Coach.
Yeah, so this is coming from Team Themes Volume 5, which is finally out. So if you're listening to this, you can go over either on Amazon or at fbcoachsimpson.com. We have Team Themes Volumes 1 through 5. This is from the newest book that just dropped. It's actually number 2 right now on bestsellers on Amazon, so I'm excited about that. It's always kind of cool to see. It's always cool to see it go places, and usually if people are buying on Amazon, they're usually from out of the country, so it's really neat to see it have an impact. But anyway, the quote is over the word efficiency. That was one of the words in this book. And so the quote is from Seth Godin. It says, "The secret to getting ahead is getting started. The secret to getting started is breaking your complex, overwhelming tasks into small, manageable tasks, and then starting with the first one." And my wife and I always kind of laugh about things because we seem to be doing something all the time, whether it's her or me. I think we compete to see who can be busier. She, flipping houses and doing different stuff. And of course, I'm coaching and a lot of stuff. And so we just kind of look at each other and say, the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. And that's kind of the idea. Is a lot of times you stare at this mountain of, oh my goodness, we got to do all of this. And you just let it overwhelm yourself instead of saying, okay, this is what it is. Let's make a list of what's got to be done, and then let's start on a task we can complete and just keep our head down and get the next one and the next one and the next one. Same thing would apply, obviously, to being a coach. You've got a lot to do, if you're a head coach or a coordinator or even a position coach. You got a lot of things you got to handle. But let's write down a list. Let's get organized up front. Then let's deal with one thing at a time and not worry about trying to do 15 things at once. Let's just get one thing done.
Yeah, I love the quote, and it makes me think of, multitasking has kind of been the name of the game, it seems like, for about 10, 15 years. And then I read a study a couple of years ago that just said, like, that's not real. There's no such thing, right? If you're trying to multitask, trying to do all these things at once, you're doing something very poorly. And it's everything except for wherever your focus is right now. And you can switch your focus back and forth all you want, but you're never going to get anywhere, right? You almost end up spinning your tires. So breaking it down, simple tasks, and then focusing on one, which is not always the easiest when you're busy like you and Jamie. Sam and I are trying to climb off in that boat too. Y'all don't know it, but y'all are like you're our guiding light. We look at what.
Oh, I don't know about that now.
We
Jamie
can do
needs
that
to be.
too. Let's go do a whole bunch of stuff. So
Yeah. Well, like you said, it's one at a time. What are we focused on right now? And for me, that's carving out time that I don't feel bad about sitting there and breaking down film, of what we're doing. Or, maybe it's, all right, I've got to spend an hour doing all this crap work I don't want to do. Like, I don't really want to plan mother-son date night. It's a great night. It's a great thing. I don't really want to spend an hour of my time in the season planning that night.
right.
But I want to get it done, knock it all out right then while I'm handling it so I can work on something else. And so I think that's the big thing with coaches is, one, being organized. Well, that's why we have those head coach workbook and we have the head coach planner, is because every coach needs to be organized. Then when you are, you can be more systematic on what you're doing. What I found is when I'm not organized, that's when everything seems to be bigger and worse.
Yeah. The preparation definitely takes away a lot of that stress, for sure. Sweet. Well, let's get in the ads real quick. If you don't mind, share some ways that coaches can make things simple for their staff and their athletes. All right, if you're listening live, this is where we're going to throw some digital ads in later. Coach will come out here and just same thing. Ace Sports, Team Builder, Winning Edge, and we'll move on. Appreciate that, Coach Simpson. If you guys haven't listened, those ads did change this season. We picked up Team Builder Practice, which is a huge sponsor for us. We're very happy to have them on board with the Coaching 101 podcast. Team Builder Practice is kind of their new way of helping coaches stay organized. Kenny, you just said it. Staying organized for practice. Some of the benefits there, one's the drill notebook I've talked about before. You can go in and kind of build out a drill notebook and put a video that you want a new coach to see. And what does a diagram of that drill look like? You can build all that out. The other thing that I think is kind of neat is you can just send a link to your parents and they can see everything you're doing, right? And in a world where we have to live in, not only it has to be effective, it's got to be efficient. You kind of need to CYA a little bit. That's a great place to send that out and say, look, parents, here's everything we're doing. Here's what time practice should be out. It handles a lot of communication issues when they can just go look at your practice schedule. There's nothing else, it kind of takes all the vagueness out of it. So Team Builder Practice, go check that out. Ace Sports, of course, Mark Bridges, we've been working with him for, Kenny, we're going like 2 years with Ace. You guys have been watching me travel with Ace. Just got out of San Antonio a couple of weeks ago, went to Austin this year. Headed to Tampa in January, so that should be a lot of fun. Back to AFCA, so lots of cool things traveling there with Ace. Ace Sports is kind of the premier people in the land right now for the digital video boards. So if you're looking for a fundraiser, a big ticket item fundraiser, Ace Sports is going to be your guys. And last but not least, and we'll get out of these ads, Winning Edge Performance Analytics. Talked to Doug earlier this week. We set up our account with them. Got all of our offense and defensive stuff put in there. And, we've already started doing practice games, like practicing, watch film, tag it up, kind of getting used to that. What does 40 seconds between plays really look like when you're trying to tag it on the fly there? It's been amazing. The halftime reports we got back from games last year would have changed the way we would have called the second half had we had that breakdown in front of us. We kind of went off gut feeling and intuition and what did coach see? What do the players say? Which is, it's worked for years. That's great. But we definitely would have changed some things based on the reports we got back using that program. In-game analytics, not to mention you're getting your film tagged while you're in the game. So when you get done Friday night, your film is tagged. Nobody has to stay up late Friday night or wake up early Saturday morning. You've already done your job. Every position coach has. So It's a great way to kind of do it. Don't forget to use the promo code 20OFF Coaching 101. Doug's going to give you 20% off your first year just for listening to the podcast. So remember your promo code when you go over to Winning Edge Performance Analytics. Let's jump into the talk here, Coach. So we've covered a lot of aspects, a lot of pieces of coaching, lots of cultural stuff on this season of the podcast, and we kind of want to get back into that, like teaching kids. And I feel like watching film is one place that I was never good as a player, right? I'm pretty sure into my senior year, I was just looking to see how goofy I looked on film and like, oh, look at me, I made that tackle, right? I'm there to celebrate. I didn't know how to watch film. For whatever reason, I just didn't have the interest. I wasn't very good at ball. There's a lot of kids out there that could benefit from just being able to turn on the film and know what to look at. What am I actually looking for? And it's not staring at yourself and seeing how you handled a play, right? It might be your position. It might be, did you read a key read on this play? Did your key read lie to you? When you start looking into your opponent's film, what does their key read say that you should be expecting this week? What are formations? Are they trying to get to the boundary a lot? Are they trying to get to their strength a lot? There's so much more stuff that kids can be learning. I don't need them to go out and break down film the way we do, right? But there is some aspects they could go out and see a tendency. There's a lot that they can take out of watching film on their own to confirm what you're teaching them Monday through Thursday. So kind of, Kenny, how are you doing that? How are you teaching your kids to watch film? Are you teaching them to watch film?
Yeah, I think there's different types of kids. I would also say that a lot of coaches could use some help learning how to watch film. I know I needed it when I was coming up. So I think a lot of, especially, I'm going to deal with it from a head coach and deal with young coaches first. Then I'm going to get into players. But
yeah.
A lot of times with a young coach, what are you expecting that guy to do when he's watching film of his own players? And what are those expectations? What are you looking for? Daniel, you hit on several things. For us, we want to grade our kids. We're not a big, you got a 64, you got a 72, or you got whatever, because ultimately that guy's going to play anyway. But we are looking for things that we can help the kid get better at. So the first thing we're going to do when watching our own film as a coach on your position is we're looking at, one, did they run whatever technique you asked them to do correctly? Like if that's defense, that could be, did they read their key, their eyes in the right place? If that's offense, that could be, did they block their rule or run the correct route? Or quarterback, did he read the right, defender or whatever you're asking him to do? So one, and that could be a couple different things you can do. And by the way, I've got a friend who does optimum grading. So it's a good tool if you're looking for it. He's come to a couple of gun T clinics. Kingsley, Osai, he does a good job. So if you're interested in the software that does it, he does it good. But if you're just going old school, I think you can just say, okay, did we have good technique on this play? Did we do what we were coached to do on this play? Then the second part of that is, did we give great effort? Those are kind of the two main things we're looking for. Do we have good technique? Did we play with great effort? And then to me, what I'm looking for on that is not, as a coach, yes, you're going to have a sheet of every single play. So if you're grading, linemen, I'm sorry, but you got 5 guys to grade every play. So that's going to take some time, But what I want you to give them so they can watch this on film is I want you to give them 3 things they did well and 3 things they can improve on, or less, 3 or less. Here's what you did well. Here's what you did not do well. And here's the play that corresponds to that shows you I'm not just making this up. Like maybe it was, you read your keys really well this week. You gave great effort this week. You didn't finish your tackles. Here's the 5 plays that show what I'm talking about. Or it was, you didn't do a good job of getting your eyes in the correct place because you were looking in the backfield instead of at your key. Or on the offensive line, it might be you blocked the correct guy, but you didn't use the right leverage, or you didn't move your feet. Give him 3 or less things he can improve on, and correspond those to plays that you can watch together and show him what you're talking about. So that's kind of what we want to do, with good things and bad things. Now, as a player, we're trying to teach our kid the same thing. Watch yourself on this play. So let's say I'm coaching defense. Watch yourself on this play. Where should you be looking? All right, I should be reading whatever his key is. Therein, this formation, is your alignment correct based on the call that we had for you and the front we have? Yes or no, whatever it is. Watch your first step. Is that how we taught you to do it? Yes or no? Did you flow where you're supposed to? Did you fit or finish the play? Are you giving great effort? So that's kind of what we're looking for when we're showing something to our players. It's focus on where you're supposed to be looking, what you're supposed to be doing. Did you do it? That's how we're kind of focused on grading or evaluating our own film. We want to do this off of practice too. So we want to film team or inside drill or 7-on-7 or whatever that might be. We want to film the practice and do the same thing with these kids throughout the week. So they're getting used to, I'm not just getting yelled at for doing something. Coach can show me on the film, here's what I'm supposed to be doing, where I'm supposed to be looking at, what my footwork is supposed to be, or my hands are supposed to go. Am I doing that or not doing that? And now it's not a coach getting on a player. It's a player seeing, oh man, I sure didn't do that. I've got to get better. So that's what we want to use film for. Is it's the best coaching tool you can have. Even if maybe you don't have some kind of platform, use your cell phone, like record it on your phone and show the kid. The quicker you can go from film to showing a kid, the quicker their improvement is. That's why most teams make the biggest jump from the first game to the second game if they're coached well, because now you've had a chance to evaluate game film, make big notes on whatever you've got to improve on, and your kids see it and hopefully improve on that. So our really good teams get better as the year goes on, not just because of game film, but also practice film. So that's what we want our kids to get used to, is film as a tool. Film is a way to get better. As obviously in today's society, film is also a way to get recruited.
Yeah.
So that's the other part of this is, you got these kids that want to go play college, want to do whatever, helping them figure out, hey, this is a highlight. This is how I would kind of do this. So there's lots of tools you can use with film. We try to stick to mainly teaching.
Yeah. I'd like, there's ways that different coaches teach, right? And when you can take something, Joe, for instance, he uses the ASCA principles, right? And that's a checklist for every player on defense before the ball is snapped. Are you aligned right? Is your stance right? What is your key read? And then what assignment based on that key read? So if you've done those 4 things on every play correctly, that's a good play, realistically. It's a very easy grading system. It's an easy teaching system, but it's also an easy way to teach a kid to watch film. So you don't have to change your keys of where your eyes should be during film. It's the ASCA system. If you're on film every play, did you do that right or not? And if not, it's probably within one of those 4 categories that you messed up. So if you weren't there to make a play and you should have been, or sometimes, unfortunately, you're there to make a play and it wasn't your job and your job came open, did you do that right or not? So it makes it a very easy way to teach them what to look for. I think breaking the habit of just watching football. Basically, when football's on a screen for non-coaches, it's a game and we're watching the game. In fact, we usually stare at the football, right? If you sit down and watch ball with most people's wives, your wife probably knows everything about football, but most people's wives, they're going to be like, oh, look, it's Patrick Mahomes and he's got the football and he threw it down the field so they don't see Creed Humphrey communicating before the ball snapped and talking about a possible blitz and checking the coverage and right. And is his first steps correct? And now he's picked up and holding one guy off. Yeah, it's just, they don't see ball the same way we do, and kids don't either. In fact, they're not even watching football really anymore. They might play NCAA, although I'm pretty sure that's a 30-plus-year-old game at this point. Like, if you're not 30-plus, you probably ain't playing it. But they're just not. It's hard to get kids to do anything for football outside of them actually playing football. So watching ball, to watch all those very, very fine details is hard. Keeping them from their eyes from we see it with coaches all the time in the booth, right? You're in the booth and you have a job responsibility, or maybe you don't. Maybe that's another part of organization you need to get to, is giving your jobs in the booth a specific thing to watch for. But you get caught watching ball. I do still to this day, right? I've picked up kind of some things. I'm watching the O-line. Then all of a sudden I'm like, dang, we just broke it. Whoa, that's a good run. And you get to where you're watching ball all of a sudden, right? It can pull you in. It's a wonderful sport to watch. So just breaking that for kids, I think, and getting them to use it as a tool and not as entertainment, I think would be the first key step. Second part here, Coach, talk about watching film. And I know a lot of coaches record their practice now. And this is what you just said. Teams get better as the season goes on because they're recording practice and they can watch that practice film. But it does no good to bring the whole team in and set all 35 to 85, whatever you got on your team, down in the big auditorium and watch practice film, right? That doesn't do you any good. You can't talk. It's like trying to talk to one person while a drill's trying to go on, right? Hey, this is Team O. Let's talk to just the right tackle about how bad of a down block he just did. It doesn't help to stop the other 10 people from progressing. So tell me, Coach, kind of what are your thoughts on breaking groups down into smaller groups for watching film?
Yeah, I think the smaller the better. I mean, first, I think as a coach, as a head coach or coordinator, you got to be comfortable that your coaches are aware of what you're wanting them to watch. Like, I'm not a big fan, and even with our coaches now, of I walk in a room and we just start on play one. We didn't really have a plan. And we started on play one. We watched 4 plays because we hadn't segmented things out. And so we're just kind of going chronologically in a game. I think there's times that's okay to do, but I want to make sure you have a plan. Like, we're trying to teach you, these kids, what's going on. So coaches have got to kind of have a plan together first. If your coaches are at the point where they can do that. So if your coaches are at the point where, hey, they're ready to handle the room by themselves, then the smaller the group, the better. It doesn't mean everyone's ready for that yet, but when you get to that point, it's going to go a lot better if you only have the O-line in a room, and you only have the DBs in a different room, and you only have the linebackers in another room. So smaller the group, the better, because then you can really focus in on what they're supposed to be getting done, instead of, like you mentioned, having to talk to 17 kids, and you got 12 kids in there that really, they're not even involved and they don't really care. The smaller the group, the better, because one, you can be more honest back and forth. Kid can be honest with questions. You can be honest with answers, and just kind of more collaborative. In a big group, there's a reason that I think it's okay. Like, we will always usually start off like a Monday with the whole team in there. We might watch 2 or 3 plays as a team. Generally, those are going to be like, this was a really good thing so-and-so did. We usually try to highlight effort, or we consider like game-changing plays that nobody noticed. Like, where this guy did this, no one really noticed live, but if he doesn't do this, wouldn't have been good for us. Right. So we will show those or special teams to our entire team. Then we'll break, and we'll use that time to work on how can we get better. And then I think it's also very different how offense watches film versus defense watches film. Offensively, we'll focus on our own film more than an opponent's. Like, we will watch our opponent's film. We will show our kids that. We will take notes. We'll do things on it. But we're really focusing on our own offense. Like, what can we do here? Defensively, you almost have to flip that mindset. Like, yes, you have to focus on your own film and get better. You can't ignore that. But I'd say probably, to be realistic, 75, 80% of your time in film is on your opponent, because you got to get ready for the next thing. Because unless you're playing 2 teams that run identical offenses back to back, your key changes, your alignment changes, what you might be asking that kid to do changes. So we kind of have to spend Monday really quickly on defense, evaluate what's wrong, what's right, and move on. We're going to spend Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday watching our opponent. Where offensively, we might get a couple days worth of our own film and just kind of touch on the opponent. So you can't do that if you're watching film in one room. You can't do that if you're watching film with a whole grouping of kids. So you've got to try to get in as small as possible. The other thing we've noticed is some groups really like film. Some groups, you're wasting your time. Like, you show them a little bit of film. So like this year, I feel like it was our DBs. No, it wasn't our D. It was our O-line. Our O-line last year, we would show them film, and then while the DBs and defense was needing more film, we would just take them out on the field and walk through stuff, like walk through everything. They learned better that way. We could get more stuff in that way. But we needed that, where our DBs, they needed more film time. Our linebackers needed more film time. So I think by going smaller groups, you enable yourself to not just be trapped into certain things. Maybe it's having your kids draw on a whiteboard. Maybe it's walking them through things. Maybe it's going on the field. Maybe it's film time. So we kind of block off 20 minutes, and then you have that for your position to do whatever you feel is most needed. And then as a coaching staff, we obviously meet. I meet with all those coaches to make sure, hey, this is really what's the best use of our time. But you really can't do that stuff if you're just watching film with 30 kids in a room. It's just hard to do that. So the smaller groups, the better.
I come from a defensive background that's a little more segmented fronts and DBs, right? Your coverages and your fronts aren't necessarily always married. So if you try to get all those guys in a room, and even if you ask about strength, like the most fundamental thing of defense, it's a different answer for each group, right? My DBs are going to be calling it to all these receivers over here. My front's going to be calling it to that tight end that's on the backside. They're not going to even be able to agree. So you end up with this weird chasm of inability to communicate, because you're asking people that don't need to really talk to each other during a game to have this whole conversation or to learn a lot from this, right? I think that's why football has gotten so positionally specific. We're teaching. We ran almost outside linebackers at defensive ends in a 4-2-5 because we need those athletes there. So if I have them and then my plugger, that's a kind of more of a true defensive end, trying to watch the same film, yes, we can get the same answer, but I'm needing to teach them different things. And so I could even divide up my defensive tackles, my defensive ends, and have two different film groups. I think it's important to get them out so they get what matters to them. Once again, much like stopping a drill and team to talk to one person, you get a lot of people sitting around that aren't getting educated. They're just wasting time. Another thing is, I think it's going to build trust and autonomy within your position coaches, right? If you're the head coach and you keep calling these big film watching sessions and you're the only one talking, or maybe you give it over to your coordinator, you're cutting the legs out from under your position coach, who's hopefully been putting in some time, getting better, learning. He's the one who's be talking to his kids, talking about, hey, we went over this in drills last week. We're still not good at it. Here's what we're going to do to drills this week. Here's how we're going to improve. This is what we think will make us better in this position this week. Kind of whatever it is. Watch this hot rod, or, hey, we've watched this guard all week long, linebackers. We know he's a hot head, and as soon as we can get under his skin, he's going to blow up, right? It's going to make him implode. There's 1,000 things that a whole bunch of position coaches can talk about that can really break down those defensive formations, plays, and the people that are filling the positions. Really talk about those kids and what they bring to the table instead of just trying to look at a big scheme. So I think that's why it's important to have as small as group as possible while you watch film. Last one here is, how do we teach our players to break down an opponent's film?
Yeah, I think this one's a little bit tougher, because a lot of times they just want to, like you said, want to watch film and go, this guy's good or he sucks. Like, that's kind of the two camps they fall into. And it's like, that's not really what we're trying to watch film for. And we're honest with our kids. We let them know, hey, look, this team has struggled, or this team is very talented, or whatever it's going to be. They're going to watch the film and be able to figure that part out. You don't have to help them with that very much. They kind of figure that out on their own. We want to watch film to figure out, okay, what techniques are these guys being taught? So if I'm playing on the offensive line and I'm going to be blocking number 96 or whatever this guy's number is, what techniques is he using? Is he a bull rusher? Is he an upfield player? Does he play well with his hands? Is he using speed? Is he a rip guy? Is he a spin move guy? What kind of techniques is he using? And then now I've got to apply that back to what I'm going to try to accomplish that week. So if I'm down blocking this guy, he's using a speed move, well, I'm going to have to get there quickly. He's trying to beat me across my face. Or now this guy's using his hands really well, and then he's playing down the line of scrimmage. Well, now I may have to change the angle of my down block a little bit and come a little bit deeper, get a little bit deeper to get the good seal there. Or I might be blocking a linebacker, and man, when he sees something, he triggers like that, and he's trying to spill everything. Well, I got to know, okay, this guy's coming quickly. So if I'm trying to pull wrap to him, or I'm working second level to him, or whatever, he's going to be on me now. Or is he more of a kind of play over the top player, where he's scraping? How's that going to look? Or if I'm a quarterback, watching the DBs, okay, this corner, this is cover 2, and he reads an out. Is he coming right now, or is he kind of playing soft to it? Is he going to bait you to try to throw a corner out and then get underneath it and pick it? Or is he screaming up on the hitch route? What kind of technique is he playing with? Does he catch the ball well? Like, do I want to risk throwing a ball around a DB who's already got 4 or 5 picks and who's shown he's got good ball skills? Or this kid has shown he never gets his head turned back around. He doesn't play the ball well in the air. So that's the kind of stuff we're looking for. Not this guy sucks or he's not good. Is which guy am I going to kind of pick on? You flip it over on defense. Okay, if I'm watching the offense, there's a lot of things. Not just the opponent, but the scheme. We spend a lot of time with our kids on this is their alignment. What do they like out of this alignment? This is when their best player is here. What are they trying to accomplish here? You can't do every single scenario. So I call it like kind of a funnel. As a DC, you gather all the information. And then you figure out at the bottom of the funnel what's the most important thing that our kids need to know. Like, okay, I know all this information, but what is something that will help our kids without making them slow down? So we're only going to give our kids, we're going to give them a visual key, who to look at. We're going to give them 2 or 3 automatics. Hey, guys, if we get this look, we're going to check to this coverage, or we're going to check to this blitz, or if we get their best players singled up, here's our 2 little wrinkles we're going to run against them. So we're going to keep it really simple for our kids, but we're going to hammer home all week. All right, hey, look, you got 2x2. What's our check? All right, you got 3x1. What's our check? Okay, now they're best players in the backfield. What are we doing? Okay, or we might pick up a key where maybe our D-line's reading the O-lineman's headgear, and you can get a tell on pre-snap. Hey, look, he's leaning forward, probably a run. He's leaning back, probably a pass. So what are some tells we can give them on their visual key? What are some tells we can give them on alignment? And then we'll do a lot of like worst case scenario things. Like, okay, coach called cover 3 roll and they came out in empty. Do we want to kill that or stay with it? What are we going to do this week? And then the final thing we do a lot with our kids, we do a lot of third downs, and we do a lot of red zone. A lot of third downs, because those are the plays that are going to turn the game. 3rd and 7s. So we'll do a whole day worth of film on third downs with our DBs. Whole day. 3rd and 10. Here's his play. 3rd and 10. What are we noticing, guys? Every time it's 3rd and 10, what have they done? Well, they've thrown it to the sticks, or they've thrown the curl, or they've thrown a speed out. Whatever it's been, you can kind of get a tell. And if your kids kind of know this is what I'm thinking, they're going to play a lot faster. So that's what we're looking at with defense. Is a little bit different than offense. Yeah, we are looking at your opponent and his talent. But we're also looking at what are some things we can give our kids that'll allow them to play more aggressive and feel more comfortable with what they're doing. So film is a little different on both sides of the ball, but either way, it is important for them to understand how to watch an opponent and not just say, that guy's good or that guy's bad. I will put this one caveat. Sometimes as coaches, who's good and who's not good, that needs to be where it ends. Like sometimes as defensive coordinators, then we make it complicated. Turn the film on and they got a kid who's going to go sign Division I football. Stop that kid.
Yeah.
Like, don't overcomplicate it, and make sure your kids are aware of that. Hey, guys, if they beat us with the other 10, good for them. But let's not let them beat us with this guy. Let's never end up with one-on-one on this guy. We always want to give help. So no matter what we've called on defense, if we see this guy out here by himself, we got to give help. Or he goes in the backfield, we're going to make him throw it. Whatever it's going to be, sometimes those simple things with your players goes a lot farther than having an automatic to a set. Think players over formations.
Yep. We haven't ever taught kids to play or to watch film at this point in my career, and it's because honestly, I've been a part of like first year staffs, or it's my first year somewhere, and I'm still trying to figure things out, whatever it is. And so, kind of the install when you're having to install everything, adding another piece to that can get a little overwhelming for the kids. And so, luckily being back with Bristow again this year, it'll be a second year there. The kids have had a year in the system. So now I feel like we can have those conversations. They're not learning the fundamentals anymore. We're going to cover them. They're going to have them at fall camp, right? But we know we can kind of accelerate a little quicker getting into the full system to what we're trying to accomplish this year. But if I had to make a wish list, if I could get kids to do just like a few things watching film, we talked earlier about kind of where to put their eyes, etc. But if it came down to tendencies, I think the three things, one is like personnel. Okay, what are they doing? If they're swapping personnel groups, why? What are they doing that for? Because coach isn't just going to go out and run 10P, 11P, 12P, 21P and just try to run power out of everything, right? He's going to have a reason he's putting those kids on. And now maybe they have to change it up that game to handle us, to handle the way we align or what they saw from us on film. But I want a little bit of an understanding by the kids, like, hey, I identify, number one, that they've come out in a new position group or personnel group. And then kind of just the smallest understanding of why they're doing that. If I can just get them to go in and see that, hey, I see they went to empty here. They went to their heavy package. What triggered it and kind of what are they trying to do? The second thing is, and I got this from Cody Alexander, who was on the podcast a while back. He showed me, he kind of opened my eyes to the alignment of the tailback. If you can find the alignment of the tailback, it'll dial you in something like 80% of the time. You can almost call the play they're going to call on any given down based on formation and tailback alignment. And so if I can get them to at least get eyes on that tailback and identify where he is. Now, if that week, if it's boundary or field, maybe that's what we're looking for. Or that week, is it more important to look where he is based on formation? He's strong or weak. Those are things that may be week by week. But if a kid's watching enough and he can come to you and ask that question, hey, coach, are we worried if the T is into the field this week? Or are we worried if he's to the string? Excellent question. Let's talk about what I'm seeing, and then that'll help them progress in their film watching roles.
Yeah, I do one caveat here too, Daniel. You mentioned it up front. We never assume a kid's going to get any quality film on their own. Like I know we want to teach them how to watch film, so they watch it with us, and then we encourage them to watch film, and some of them do. But we just assume that the only film they've watched is with us. So we carve that time out to make sure that they're watching it with a coach. We hope they get extra. But I'm at the point where I'm not going to trust that they're going to do it or do it right.
Absolutely. I've kind of talked a lot of defensive stuff here, but offensively, it's the same thing. Do they have just a wild card that's lining up somewhere weird, and why? And the last one is explosives. I think that if they can go in and see, and this can be watching their own film too, coach, honestly, why are this team giving up explosive plays, or why are they getting explosive plays? Why are we doing the same thing, right? What made us successful and we got an explosive play, or why are we giving them up? I think if they can just go identify one that a play is explosive just simply by yardage gained, and then go back and look at how did that happen? What caused that to happen? Was it a bunch of trickery with other wide receivers that kind of sucked our safety down, and now we have a post going behind him, right? Pulled him out of his coverage. Was it a really good play action pass? What was the reason that worked out so well for that team, or vice versa? If they are giving up a bunch of explosive plays, what was it that caused those to happen? I think if a kid can go out and find those three, it's going to make them look really, really hard at the film. They're going to have to watch it several times. And they'll kind of know what their opponent is trying to do to them, whether it's on offense or defense. I love what you said, though, Kenny. You can't assume. I'm not going to skip film session. I'm not going to make a drill and be like, well, I told you to watch film. Did you see what made explosive? No. But I think if kids want to learn and you're trying to get them ready for the next level, that's a great place to start. All right, man, let's jump into our last piece here. We started a new thing a couple weeks ago. We're going to do our situation of the week. And so I kind of added to a little bit here. We've had some indecisiveness on how the situation works out. But we're going to talk about today. And Coach, I just want your fundamental thinking. Okay, we'll stick to the offense. Just kind of where is your mind? What are you kind of what are the keys you're looking for? But here's your situation. It's 3rd down and less than 3. Okay. You're coming out of your own end zone. So you're at your negative 15. You're on offense. We'll call it first half.
Okay, so 3rd and 3. First, a lot of times we're going to do a check with me at the end. There's 2 ways you can kind of think of that. One would be, what did we gain on 2nd down to put us in the situation? Was it 2nd and 10? We picked up 7. Well, that's a good place to be. Or was it gain of 3, whatever that might look like. So I think that would determine the pace we go with. Like if we picked up 7 yards to get us into 3rd and 3, we're probably going to not do a check with me. We're probably going to run a very base play that we feel comfortable with. Generally for us is some type of RPO. So we're either going to hand the ball off or the quarterback's going to pull it. We may have a screen attached to it. So he's got kind of a 3-way option there where you give us off coverage, take the screen, get the first down. You're going to take that away. We're going to run the ball and we're going to read some defender. So you kind of got a 2-way go there. If we've had a successful 2nd down play and momentum's on our side, so we could be up. I don't know the whole situation of the game, but let's just say we're in a good place. Either we picked up some yards to get there, we're up, or it's a pretty good game. We're probably going to go quickly. Like I think 3rd and 3 going quick is better because the defense can't get a call in other than base. If, let's reverse it, now we're down 14-0, and we're struggling. We ain't got a lot of first downs, and this is a big play. We're probably doing a check with me. And we're probably going to go to the line of scrimmage quickly, get in a set, give a hard count, see if we can get a cheap first down.
Absolutely.
Maybe we get lucky and get a cheap first down. And we might even do a motion with a hard count just to try to get them to get us a cheap 5. Then I'm looking at, okay, again, while I would like to call a base play if things haven't been going well, 3rd and 3 is not a bad down to run a screen or run a quick boot, like where I can get my quarterback some kind of quick play action and flip that ball out to a kid from the backfield, or some kind of quick play action and slip the tight end out. Probably that's the difference. If our offense is functioning well, 3rd and 3 should be a base play down. It should be. But I've been in situations where it's not been going well. So now 3rd and 3 turns into a screen, a boot, an unbalanced set, maybe an unbalanced to the boundary, try to get a cheap first down there. So just some old kind of wrinkles there. You can go unbalanced boundary, get a first down. You can go some kind of unbalanced boot back the other way, or you can go screen there on 3rd and 3. If things are going well, don't overcomplicate it. Run your base stuff.
I love it. It's a great answer. We're going to skip the what not to do as a coach. One reason is I got to go get my son at daycare. And 2, you gave us a great one, is don't ever think your kids are actually watching film on the side. I think that is our what not to do as a coach for today. So you already gave us that lesson. Sponsor ads here. So Ace Sports, if you haven't reached out to Mark Bridges yet, do so. We're picking up people all over the country as representatives. We've got a new team in Kentucky, new team up around Virginia. Guys, there's teams everywhere. Reach out, let somebody, even if it's just a consultant, to come in and have a conversation with your administration. I think that you'll find these guys know what they're doing. They can probably get you in the catbird seat, as they used to say, and get the thing that you need there to help you push your program forward. Team Builder Practice, of course, coming on new this season. If you're looking for a way to be organized in practice and share that out with team, coach, players, parents, whatever it is, that's a great place to do it. Team Builder Practice. Winning Edge Performance Analytics. Okay, Doug has been helping us get all of ours installed. Guys, it takes less than a day. You get it all installed. You run a few practice games, and you're easily banging the stuff, getting every single thing tagged. Very user-friendly interface. It just goes right on an iPad or whatever you want to use. You can use. I'm going to use a computer in the booth this year with an extra screen. The guys on the field are going to have iPads, and they all talk to each other, and you're doing one play at a time. People can skip forward so they can get all your base plays set up while you're filling in the details. Super easy. Get a hold of Doug and talk to him. Winning Edge Performance Analytics. All right, let's close out social media. I'm at Coach Chambo OK on Twitter /X. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. And then I have the patreon.com/Chamberlain Football Consulting for all of your coaching needs. If anything from graphics to a new assistant coach on the sidelines digitally, I've got you, man. Hit us up, patreon.com/Chamberlain Football Consulting. Find a tier that's good for you. Kenny, where can they find you, sir?
All things FB Coach Simpson. So FBCoachSimpson.com, FBCoachSimpson@gmail.com, or at Twitter/X @FBCoachSimpson.
Awesome. Podcast is at Coaching101Pod on the Twitter/X machine. And of course, you can jump over to Kenny's YouTube and find all the episodes if you would like to watch them. We want to thank you for being a listener of the Coaching 101 podcast. We'll hope you join us next week as we continue to make the complex more simple. Please consider subscribing to the show so you'll always know when the new episodes are out. We'll leave you with this. It's hard to beat someone who never gives up. No matter the situation, find a way.